I broke my son and his girlfriend up and he doesn't know it was me. I 49 female broke my son and his girlfriend up. They had been dating for almost a year and seemed very happy. For backstory, my son, 19, moved out pretty soon after his biological father passed. He told me he wanted to expand on life. Because he was nervous he would waste it away being depressed over the death of someone so important to him. I understood completely and allowed him space and freedom, but we talked daily and he visited all the time. After a while of living alone, he moved back. It was around this time that he introduced me to Kaylee. Me and Kaylee got along immediately. She lacked a mother in her life, and I think she was quick to establish that relationship with me. Off the bat I noticed she was extremely paranoid and had extreme trust issues, but she wasn't toxic or manipulative, just anxious about where my son was going after work. She'd ask me and I'd answer with he went to his friend Mike's house. They hang out to play PlayStation with each other. We both genuinely believed that my son was at Mike's house, and we had no reason to suspect he wasn't. One night, after my son came home to pick up his PlayStation to hang out with Mike, Kaylee asked me to pick up some tampons and Tylenol for her. She lived close and her periods were always super intense, so I was used to going out late into the night to help her. My son gets out of work at 4 o'clock and is usually home or at Kaylee's place by 5:30, 6 o'clock at the latest. It was 6 and he hadn't swung by to drop off his PlayStation, so I shot him a text before I left the house to let him know why I was gone. It was something like, "Hey, Kaylee is on her period so I'm heading out to grab supplies, you okay?" He answered me while I was driving, and I checked it when I got to the store. It was something like, "Yeah, I'm fine, like needed help building a shelf he bought so I'm staying a little later." I sent back some message saying okay, be safe, all of that mother stuff, but I was not ready to see Mike, working the cash register, smiling at me as soon as I walked in. I hadn't forgotten he worked here, but obviously, figured it was his day off. I smiled back, but immediately I felt sick to my stomach. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe he means he is building it for Mike, while he works. I couldn't even think straight. I just got the tampons, some snacks and Tylenol for Kaylee and went to the register. Mike obviously started small talk with me, paraphrasing because my memory is bad, but it went something like this. "Hi Mrs., last name." "Hello, Mike. How are you doing?" "I'm alright, getting some supplies for my son's girlfriend." I remembered he laughed. "Speaking of your son, I haven't seen him in a few weeks. I need him to give me my PlayStation controller he borrowed. Can you tell him that?" I felt sick again. I didn't want to put my son in the spotlight, so I didn't mention the stories my son had been feeding me. I just smiled and said, "I'll let him know." I paid for my stuff and left quickly. I drove to Kaylee's house and gave her the supplies, but I didn't know what to say, or how to say it. She was smiling and laughing, and looked carefree. She asked me where my son was. I couldn't lie to her, I couldn't, so I answered honestly, "I don't know." I didn't know where he was, or who he was with. I just told her to call him and asked. She thanked me and I left her house. Later that night, at around 8 p.m., my son finally came home. I didn't say much to him, just asked him if he had fun. He said yeah, and went to his room. I knew I had to tell Kaylee. Soon after, I went into my room and called her. I informed her of what Mike had said, and how late he had gotten home. She told me that he said he was home hours ago, just tired so he wasn't going to visit. I could tell she was crying, and I asked her if she wanted me to come over. I went to her house and we talked about everything, and she told me she didn't want anything to do with him, and wanted to break up with him immediately. I told her she could, and if she wanted, she could be honest and say I told her. After I comforted her for a few hours, she asked if she could still contact me, even if she wasn't with my son. I said yes, but honestly, I'm hesitant about it. I love her, but it feels off to me. I would still help her though. Fast forward a few days and my son comes crying to me that Kaylee broke up with him and isn't giving him any reason. I, of course, comfort him too. He said that she needed time to think about it and would tell him why when she knows what to say, but for now, she is supposedly speechless. I was too, so I don't blame her. He cried for hours in his room, and in my arms, and regardless of what he did, of what I did, I comforted him. I want to tell him what I know, and I feel bad that he doesn't know, but Kaylee didn't tell him anything yet, so I might wait. Honestly, I feel stuck. This isn't just about cheating, even though I think he is. This is about trust, and how he is lying to me, and his girlfriend. We both know there is a possibility he isn't cheating, but he shouldn't have to lie if he has nothing to hide.
I feel unclean now after my shift at work. I 20 male work as a lifeguard at a water park. I haven't gotten the opportunity to take my certification test for this year yet, so they have me running water slides. I was giving my safety spiel when this older woman, probably around 40 to 45, asked me if I was going to pull her up if she drowned. When I said that I would, thinking she was nervous, she kind of let out a little laugh and said that she would keep that in mind. I was a little uncomfortable by that, and I mentioned that it was my job to do that, but she just kept going. A few more people went by and she wasn't on my mind at all until a group came up that got stuck at the top of my slide. When this happens, I have to push their tube through and it is not always easy. This group wouldn't budge, so I eventually just buckled down and got into the water at the top to dislodge them. My shirt got wet and then I heard the woman a few groups back telling me that if my shirt got wet, I could just take it off and give it to her, saying that she wouldn't mind if I used my muscles on her. I once again reminded her that I was just doing my job, but I was so uncomfortable. When her group came up, She went to sit in her tube and then she did a fake little stumble, and fell into the tube, and in order to catch herself she grabbed onto my upper thigh and she squeezed. I've had people grab me to catch themselves, that isn't the problem. If she was actually falling I would chuckle a little bit and move on, but I heard her laugh afterwards. It sounded like she was laughing for getting away with something that she wasn't supposed to do. I know it sounds dumb because I'm a grown man, I'm 6'2" with a full head of hair and a beard, but she made me feel so small, so disgusting that even typing this out is making me want to vomit. I ignored it, thinking that because I'm a man that it couldn't possibly be a big deal, but I got put at the same slide today and I spent all day terrified that she was coming back, so I talked to my supervisor about working a different slide tomorrow. I just feel so disgusted. I know that what she did is relatively minor compared to what other people go through, but it's never happened to me and I hate it, and I hate that this stranger holds so much influence over me just through this one action. I'm crying right now typing this, which I haven't done in years. I didn't cry when this happened, or when I told my supervisor, but typing it out right now is killing me.
I wish my husband would cheat on me. I, 28 female, have spent every day for the past year wishing my 27 male husband would cheat on me, so I had a ballot out. I hate being married. My husband would rather spend time with his brothers and parents than with me. We've been at his parents' house for the past 3 weekends. Once we leave there, he gets on video games with them until all hours of the night. I haven't been to bed with my husband in weeks. Lovemaking is non-existent in my marriage right now. It's not just about the lovemaking. He complains about me all the time, to my face and behind my back. I've overheard him telling people that I'm annoying or that I nag a lot. I don't feel like I ask more than any other wife. I don't get home until past 7 most nights because I have to pick up the kids, and I don't ever ask him to pick them up or to make dinner. I ask for him to help clean up the house, and to help me put one of the kids to bed. He only willingly put one of the kids to bed. My house hasn't been clean in months. He just will not do chores. He ran out of clean underwear a few weeks ago and told me it was my job to do laundry, essentially blaming me. The man also refuses to take care of himself. He complains when I cook because I'm trying to cook healthy meals, and he doesn't like vegetables. He won't go to the gym with me, but instead insists on playing video games. Obesity runs in his family, and I'm trying my best to encourage a healthy lifestyle change. I know he's depressed, but he won't talk to someone or get on medication. It doesn't matter how I try to encourage him, he would just rather suffer. All this to say, I don't feel like it's a good enough reason to get a divorce. I'm unhappy in my marriage, but it can be fixed. Both parties be willing, of course. He's just not willing. I just wish he'd cheat on me so I felt like I had a valid reason to get divorced. At this point, it wouldn't even hurt me that much.
I found out my girlfriend is homeless. Yesterday morning, I went to go out for a walk around the city and noticed a girl that looked familiar standing in a line at a homeless shelter. I took a double glance and saw a hoodie that was mine and then recognized my girlfriend, Kat. I was pretty shocked by seeing her there, but didn't approach her because I didn't want to embarrass her or anything. So for background info, I met Kat in February at a Dunkin's. I started making small talk with her when I saw we were both wearing the same Dodgers hat. I offered to pay for her drink after shooting the shite for a minute in line and got to know her when she asked if I wanted to sit down with her. As we were finishing up our drink, I asked her out on a date and she accepted. As the last couple of months went by, things were going great with us. I learned that she was working 2 jobs, wanted to go to college, was a devout Catholic. She invited me to attend Mass. I'm not Catholic, but went out of respect. Yet I noticed that she never brought up her family except when she mentioned her dad, who was a Marine that passed away when she was a kid. Fast forward to the present, and I ended up sending a good morning text inside the Dunkin's as I was looking to see if it was really her. Like clockwork, she pulled out her phone and told me that she was at her apartment and that she was cooking breakfast. It was really surprising for me because I always dropped her off at a nice apartment building whenever a date was over, but I guess she did that to give off the appearance that she wasn't homeless? Now, I want to talk to Kat about her situation. She's kind of a social introvert, to put it lightly. If she truly is homeless, I want to offer Kat to stay at my place. The only problem is that I don't want to come off like she owes me or anything like that. I also want to respect her Catholic faith because she told me that she wants to wait to give up her V card after I originally invited her over to my place before I knew she was homeless. The Catholics aren't fond of unmarried cohabitation either. Thoughts on how I can navigate this? Update: I found out my girlfriend is homeless. I ended up meeting Kat at the local park we usually walk through after she got off work earlier today, since it's out in the open, yet still private enough to have a serious conversation. I told Kat that I didn't want her to feel uncomfortable or ashamed, but that I saw her at a line at a homeless shelter yesterday and wanted to talk to her if there was anything up or if she needed help. Kat immediately began to cry and showed her nervous tics, fidgeting around, wrinkling her nose, etc. She began stuttering on her words and I consoled her until she began to gather herself again. I told Kat that she didn't have to feel like she had to hide anything from me, and she began to open up about everything. Kat told me that she had been homeless for over a year. She grew up in a broken home after her dad passed away in Iraq when she was a kid back in 2006. Her mother fell into alcoholism and had pretty much blown whatever savings she had from the death gratuity she received and basically lived paycheck to paycheck. Despite this, her faith with the church was the only real thing that gave her stability and hope to carry on with her daily life. At 18, she joined the Marines because she wanted to honor her father and escape the life she had grown up with, although she ended up getting ELS'd, entry-level separation. and was chaptered out of the USMC due to her developing asthma while in basic. She ended up moving to her current city on the East Coast because she didn't want to return to California where her mother was. Kat ended up barely scraping by to where she saved up to buy her older car to sleep in away from the shelters around December of last year. Kat ended up sharing to me that she was on the verge of self-destruction around the time I met her and wanted to play up like she didn't have baggage, and elaborated on how she didn't want to scare me off by admitting she was homeless. So she had me drop her off at the one apartment building and split the tab of our dates to appear like everything was normal. Truthfully, I felt gutted hearing her story. I had a feeling that things were probably bad for her, but I didn't think it was that bad. Kat showed me her DD-214. I'm currently an E5 in the Army Reserve, so I knew that her story was verifiable, as well as the pictures she had of her past. I told her that I wanted to help her out in any way and that I was open to having her move to my place, with the added kicker that we could go to IKEA to get her a bed set to make my living room into her living space, since I wanted to respect her physical boundaries that was in place from her Catholic faith. Kat was very hesitant because of her pride, and she didn't want to come off like she was accepting a handout due to pity, but I reassured her that it wasn't with a handout or come with a catch. I told Kat that I loved her, first time I said that, and wanted to help her feel secure. She looked at me with a sort of disbelief and asked me if I really meant it, and I did. Kat reciprocated by saying that she loved me too and accepted. As far as the conditions go, I told her to meet me at 30% of the rent and to put whatever money she had into starting summer classes at the local community college, and that she could stay with me for as long as she wanted if she felt comfortable with premarital cohabitation. Alas, thanks for the advice on everything. Our convo was a long one and took a lot emotionally from Kat, so she is currently crashing at my couch until she wakes up so we can get her bed at IKEA later tonight. Once again, thank you for giving advice, as it really allowed me to vent on what was going on. Update: my girlfriend is TikTok famous and I hate it. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for the support on the last post. I didn't expect it to blow up like that, so I took a lot of your guys' advice and had a heart-to-heart with her. I told her how much she'd changed since we met and how much I was beginning to hate the person she was becoming. She said she wasn't really aware how upset it was making me, and if I don't like it then she's sorry, but I won't be the one to drag her career to the floor. Still, after all this, she seems to be so fixated on the fact that I'm the problem. She won't get it that she is the one that made our relationship hell. I just think the money has blinded her. Maybe it would have been fine for someone else to deal with, but marrying and having a future with an influencer unfortunately is not for me. We decided to mutually break it off, which happened all a little too easy, which makes me think something else is going on behind the scenes. Maybe I'm just overthinking that, but after 7 years you'd expect a little fight for the relationship. So I'm going to move in with my grandma for a bit until I can find somewhere. Also, I feel like it's only a matter of time she finds out about my Reddit post, since the story was plastered all over TikTok with people speculating who it is, so it's probably best I'm not around when she does. As for telling you all who it is, I am not going to do that, because even though it's been a bad couple of years with her, I don't want to be the one to kill her career. I'm better than that.